welcome to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners, February 7, 2023 Land Use Meeting. Would everyone please rise for the pledge and the invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we ask you for wisdom and knowledge, Lord, for all of the county commissioners here today, Lord, and everyone that works with the county. We ask you for your guidance. We ask you to protect all of our military, Lord, men and women, Lord, here in America and throughout the world, wherever they are, to be with them, protect them. And we pray, Lord, for all of our first responders. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Mr. Grady, would you like to review the changes to the agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, again, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. I'll first go through the addendum changes to the agenda, and then the published withdrawals and continuances beginning on page 3 of the agenda. First changes on page 3 of the agenda, item A5, PRS 22-1492. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. Second changes on page 4 of the agenda, item A7, PRS 22-1679. This applicant has been withdrawn by the applicant. Next change is on page 7 of the agenda, item E1, PRS 22-1006. This application is withdrawn by the applicant. Next change is on page 8 of the agenda, item F1, rezoning PD 22-0648. The applicant is requesting a remand of this item to the April 17, 2023 zoning hearing master meeting. And item on next change is on page 8 of the agenda, item F2, major mod application 22-0686. The applicant is requesting a remand to the March 20th, 2023 zoning hearing master meeting. We also have 2 other changes that were not on the published addendum, and that's regarding A1, rezoning PD 18-0996. Staff is requesting the changes that staff is requesting this item be continued to the April BOCC land use meeting. April 11th, BOCC land use meeting 2023. And the other change is on item A4, PRS 22-1266. This application out of order is going to be continued to the April 11th, 2023 BOCC land use meeting as opposed to the March 7th. So now I'll go through the other published withdrawals and continuances beginning on page 3 of the agenda. Again, A1, we've made that change and announced that. Next item, A2, rezoning PD 22-0567. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. Item A3, special use application LE 22-0920. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. A4 we addressed as part of the changes. A5 was addressed as part of the changes and has been withdrawn. Next change is item A6, PRS 22-1592. This application was withdrawn by the applicant. A7, again, was addressed as part of the changes to the agenda and has been withdrawn. Item A8, PRS 22-1680. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the April 11th, 2023 zoning hearing, Board of County land use meeting at 9 a.m. And then item A9, vacate petition 22-0019. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the March 7th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners land use meeting at 9 a.m. That's all. That concludes all changes and continuances and withdrawals.
Move the changes.
Got a motion to approve the changes. Commissioner Cohen, second Commissioner Kemp. Please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Can we have a motion to approve the consent?
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Cohen. If no comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
So if you have a B item, your application's been approved. This time, if you're planning on testifying today, would you please raise your right hand so the clerk can swear you in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, I believe now we're to the F portion of the agenda. Staff want to introduce the item?
As noted, items F1 and F2 were remanded as part of changes, so that brings us to item F3, rezoning PD 22-0877. The applicant is Rick Strolson. This is a request to rezone from a commercial general for a 2.24 acre parcel located at 403 West Brandon Boulevard from, again, CG Commercial General to a planned development. The request is for a rezoning to PD to allow for a car wash. The applicant is requesting, as part of this request, relief from, this is within the State Route 60 overlay, and the applicant is requesting release from portions of those standards, and specifically Part 3.15053A, dealing with Brandon overlay placement requirements regarding the placement of the buildings and relief from the minimum maximum setback requirements of the district. They're also seeking relief from Part 3.14053B 1, 2, and 4, dealing with architectural requirements and design of the building, and also requesting variations from Part 60502N off-street loading space. Staff has reviewed those requests and the overall request and finds it approvable. The Planning Commission found it consistent, and the zoning hearing master recommended approval, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
We were expecting the applicant's representative to be here, but appears that that representative has not showed up today at this point.
Now, was this the item that you had suggested earlier was going to either be continued or remanded?
Yes, there is an item that need to raise with this issue, with this application. We've identified that the property next door to the site is actually on historic landmark. That historic landmark does need to be reviewed by the Historic Resources Review Board, the county's HRRB. And so for that purpose, we would, after board discussion, would recommend that this be remanded back to the April zoning hearing master to allow time for it to go to the zoning hearing master hearing.
Okay,
HRRB.
is that action that we should take right now, or should we continue this to the end of the meeting as a courtesy of the applicant, or what's your recommendation?
I'm comfortable with the board taking action now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Owen.
The issue with this property, of course, is it abuts. It's right next door to Stowers Funeral Home. If you are familiar with this, this was James Brandon's home in 1876. That's who the town is named after. So it's a highly sensitive, and I think this is a highly insensitive project. And they're not in compliance with the overlays on this. This is not a community plan that we're dealing with. We're dealing with an overlay that came really late in the process. I'm not saying this project maybe is not approvable, but I would like to have a discussion, because I wanted to remand for more, just for their failure to comply with the HRB. I would like to ask for a little bit more in the remand. So I don't know if it's appropriate for me to request that now, or if you would want to move discussion to later if the applicant shows up.
What's staff's recommendation?
I think since this application does need to get remanded back, it would be appropriate to have that discussion and have the remand discussion now, if the board is so inclined.
Okay. Like I was stating, this particular property, Commissioner Myers, this is where the neighboring property is where everyone from Brandon Riverview, unfortunately I've been there many times, it's where all the pillars of our community get laid to rest and eulogize. This particular property, one of the big issues, this was the old Sun Bank. If I was around back then, I would have never let that building get torn down. It's just a travesty to see what has happened around Stowers Funeral Home, again, the original James Brandon home. One of the big issues is that whenever a line is formed for a service, whenever you have a pillar of the community pass away, that line goes right down where the car wash is going to go. So I take a real big issue with having a car wash with air blowers, windows and water blowing right next to where folks are going to be basically standing in line to attend a service in a historical building. So that is why, listen, I understand that something has to be done with this property. The demolition has already taken place, but they're not in compliance with the overlay, commissioners. And this overlay, if you all remember, you know better than me probably, Commissioner Kemp, that this overlay in Brandon came really, really late in the process. If you drive down Brandon, Highway 60, it's really a good example of bad planning when you look at how buildings have been configured down Highway 60. And next to Stowers Funeral Home is a U-Haul, across the street another car wash, and it looks like a medical marijuana dispensary right next to it. So it's really a shame to see what has happened to this particular area, and that is why I was going to move to remand it as well. And my motion was going to be to move to remand it to try to get more in compliance with this overlay. What they're trying to do is they're putting the property to the very back. There's a road called Robertson in the back that they're trying, and I see what they're doing. They're trying to make room for folks, I think, to get in and out, because you have to take a long circle, a long swoop for a car wash, and I understand that. But I would like them to get more in compliance with the overlay. So that's my first. Well, I'll just make the motion. Motion is one, for them to make more of an effort to, one, comply with the overlay, two, to actually provide a buffer or some type of wall in between Stowers Funeral Home and their property, and then three, to comply with the historic resource review and provide a recommendation from the HRB.
Commissioner Kemp.
Yes, so I guess that would be a substitute motion, whatever, and I'm in agreement. I'll just say, too, I'm glad for the more information on this, even right now when we're not hearing it. And I was very pleased to hear you mention the overlay district, because that's long forgotten. And I was an aide to Commissioner Castor. I've occasionally brought that up at the time that overlay district was put on, which would be sometime about 2005 and 2006. And it was done by Commissioner Storms at the time. And she did that because we had been working quite a bit on an overlay district in Town and Country, which was part of District 1. And it was discussed for a year or a year and a half, and it was a big deal. And I very distinctly remember the meeting where Commissioner Storms was almost in tears, actually, and said, everyone says Brandon is ugly. And we need an overlay district like Town and Country. And if we're going to pass this, I want an overlay district for Brandon. But it seems like that overlay district in my first few years here kind of went by the wayside. Several things came forward that could have been changed to comply with the overlay district, and were, just totally, just not, it was waived. It was waived. So I'm all about these overlay districts that will make places better. There was lots and lots of support in Town and Country for the overlay district there. So I'm just glad to hear that. And I asked about the overlay district when I was being briefed in terms of this being there, but I didn't know about the historic building next door. So I guess, I'm supporting the remand as you've stated it, and we'll see what happens when it comes to us.
Commissioner Owen.
Mr. Gormley, the design element of it that they're straying away from in this, could you explain that just a little bit too, just for the other commissioners as well, so we understand?
So the design of the building calls for wood or stucco or other similar materials. I believe that what they're proposing here is a metal roofed structure, and it's really, the justification for it is that the materials are necessary to, because of the high moisture attributes of the use. So it's really the design materials. They're also, they're not strictly complying with the building frontage and sidewalk access and front door on State Road 60 requirements of the overlay. So
right. So there are two issues with the overlay: the design and then the setbacks, correct?
Setback, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's why I wanted to be particular with my motion, that I would like them to get in either more compliance or compliance. So that's all I have today. Thank you.
Okay, the motion to remand, and that's to the April.
That'd be the April 17th at 6 PM.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Cohen. If no other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
F4?
Point of order?
Oh,
I just wondered, 6 PM at night, it's going to be a night remand?
The zoning hearing masters are always held.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're not talking about remand
No,
to
no,
the,
no, no.
okay, got it, thanks.
Okay, the next item then is agenda item F4, rezoning standard 22-0927. This is a request to rezone a .9 acre parcel located at 5606 Puritan Road from RSC 3 residential single family conventional to RMC 6 with restrictions. Of the restrictions, two of the restrictions offered by the applicant are dealing with related to access to the property. They deal with and basically requiring under a redevelopment scenario where redevelopments from the current single family to use permitted under the RMC 6 district, that access to the project would have to be through to the west through the adjacent CN zone parcels to provide access to 56th Street. Access would not be permitted on Puritan Road under that development scenario. If the applicant, the other next restriction is if the applicant is unable to secure that access through the adjacent parcels through a unified site development plan, then they have agreed to restrict use of the property to basically the status quo of the existing single-family home with access to Puritan. The other restriction is a 100-foot setback from Hillsborough River. Development Services recommending approval with those restrictions. Planning Commission found it consistent, and Zoning Hearing Master is also recommending approval, and staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
thank you. Is the applicant here? Morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. I do have a PowerPoint, if we could pull that up, please. Thank you. This is rezoning 22-0927. Currently, RSC3 seeking RSC3 and R6 future land use, seeking to rezone to RSC6 for a smaller parcel, 0.98 acres. We're located in the Temple Terrace area. Per the property appraiser, this is the parcel. It is a single parcel under your view. You can see that we're very close to the corner of North 56 and Puritan Road. And critically, as Mr. Grady has said, the only access, this is another view of it, the only access of it will be on North 56th. As you can see here, there'll be no access to Puritan Road. Future land use category in the whole area is R6, 6 units per acre. Current zoning is RSC3. Now, interestingly enough, CN, commercial neighborhood, is abutting on the north. That's not part of what's before you, but it is under control by the property or by the applicant. So again, your only parcel is indicated, the subject parcel here. This is a conceptual plan which would allow for multifamily for just a few units. And again, as you can see on the plan, the only access would be to North 56th, which is a very busy roadway, of course. A little closer view. So zoning staff indicates the size and depth of the parcel in relation to other adjacent uses, neighborhood commercial and residential uses, would create a zoning development pattern that is consistent. Your Planning Commission notes that rezoning is compatible with the surrounding area. It would preserve the low-density character consistent with the comp plan and intent of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. And the Zoning Hearing Master reported to you it is consistent with the comp plan and county land development code. Per the Planning Commission, we've also, as Mr. Ray has indicated, one of the restrictions is a 100-foot distance from the water feature. That was an important feature environmentally, which we were happy to meet. I will tell you there were a few residents at the ZHM, not speaking of them, of course, and always having great respect for anyone who trudges down to these meetings. We made it very clear that the only access was to 56th. I think there was some confusion or misunderstanding of that and of the low impact nature of what's before you in terms of trips. I believe by memory, the AM peak is 4 trips at that time. So we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone here in support of the application? Any opponent testimony? Yes, sir. Good morning.
My name is Michael McClannis. I live at 5706 Neal Drive. The 100-foot setback seems to be the magic bullet that you're going to allow this project with. Is this 100-foot setback going to be put on the deed of this property? Can it ever be revoked? It's a question. 2 years down the road, someone come in and say, we don't like that 100-foot setback. We've already got multifamily here. Can we have that removed so they can develop that land all the way to the river? And in his PowerPoint, he showed the commercial property also showed a 100-foot setback. Is that going to be deeded into that commercial property also?
Staff want
Mr.
to.
President?
Commissioners, there is a restriction that, on this zoning that provides for that 100-foot setback. So if there is a desire for them to change that, they would require them to have another public hearing and notice public hearing to change that requirement.
And how easy is that to be done?
That'll be through a public hearing, notice public hearing to the Board of County Commissioners with approval by the Board of County
Okay.
Commissioners. We
His
cannot,
consent-
through this process, address the adjacent parcel of the west regarding setbacks for that, because that's not subject to the application.
Okay, well, it kind of seems to all fall in line. But then also, the parking spaces, yes, moving from 2 units to 5 units. Said there'd be 3 additional cars in the morning, 3 additional cars in the evening. He's still showing 30-some parking spaces on this overall plan for the 2 parcels. I believe 35 spaces to be total. Why are those needed? The end game seems to be he's going to move this from multifamily to commercial to match that other piece of commercial, because his client also owns a jewelry store just to the south and wants to redevelop the whole strip of 56th Street.
Sir,
President.
sir, will you complete your comments, and then we can answer all your questions at the end.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's about it. I oppose this. I don't see where adding the multifamily for 3 additional units is going to be beneficial to this neighborhood. He's already got the commercial lot next door to it. Can do what they want with that, but changing the single family to this neighborhood just seems of no use or no benefit to the community.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else signed up in opposition to this item?
Chairman, we do have one person signed up for virtual, but they did not check in.
Okay. Mr. Pressman, you have 5-minute rebuttal. If you could please answer the gentleman's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners, and for the resident who's here. We did have, I believe, 4 or 5 residents at the ZHM, so I'm glad that we were able to clarify for just about all the residents as to what the issues are. So you have a bona fide, in concrete condition of what Mr. Grady read to you, which is the 100-foot setback for this parcel before you, as well as the limits of access onto 56th. Like every other zoning condition, that, as Mr. Rady indicated, that would have to come through the entire process and review by this board to change those. That's as tight as it gets, in my opinion. And as I showed you, the adjoining parcel is commercial neighborhood. It is under control by this property owner. There's no changes to that. That's not under your purview today, but that is part of any property that has 2 parcels together to be used together. So that's, it would be my opinion, a normal circumstance. So I would just say again that you have all 3 recommending elements, 2 staffs and ZHM who are recommending support, and we are able to work through just about all the residents. And we appreciate I personally appreciate any comment or concern by a resident, but I believe that we have addressed those very well. Your staff has worked that very hard, and we always appreciate the hard work from staff and what they pushed us to do, which we accepted. Happy to answer any other questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Planning Commission?
Thank you. Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 6 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area as well as within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. The intent of the residential 6 future land use category is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential development. The proposed rezoning to RMC 6 restricted is consistent and compatible with this category. The proposed rezoning also meets the intent of future land use element objective 1 and policy 1.4. The site is in the urban service area where 80% of the future growth of the county is to occur. The maximum density on site permitted per the residential 6 future land use category would allow for the consideration of up to 5 dwelling units. The proposed rezoning also meets the intent of future land use element objective 16 and the neighborhood protection policies that modify it, as the request is for a residential zoning to allow for different housing types in a mostly residential area. The proposed rezoning is compatible with the surrounding area, which includes single-family residential uses, multifamily residential, scattered vacant properties, and light commercial uses. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of future land use element policy 16.16 that intends to preserve the residential character of sites fronting rivers and lakes. In this case, the applicant has agreed to a restriction to provide a 100-foot setback on the northern property line along the shoreline so that the low-density character of that part of the site will remain complementary to the neighboring properties. The East Lake Orient Park Community Plan recognizes a preferred residential development pattern in this area, as well as preserving the existing residential 6 future land use category, which this request is consistent with. Therefore, the request meets the intent of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing Master?
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request to rezone the subject property to RMC 6 zoning with restrictions. The proposed restrictions address access limitations for the property. If the subject property is developed through a unified site development plan together with an adjacent parcel, folio 38859.0, access to the subject property will be provided through folio 38859.0, and access via Puritan Road shall be prohibited. If the subject property is not developed through a unified site development plan together with folio 38859.0, development of the property shall be limited to one single-family dwelling with access via Puritan Road. The applicant also proposed a restriction to provide a 100-foot setback from the property's north boundary along the Hillsborough River shoreline. Zoning hearing master, following consideration of the record and testimony provided, found the rezoning request to be approvable and recommended approval subject to those conditions, or I'm sorry, to those restrictions that were proposed by the applicant and I just described.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Wostel?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I specifically looked into this one just because it is surrounded by 90% single-family homes on the map. And I dug into these comprehensive plan agreements, and I'm trying to figure out consistency on how we're going to act like this as a board. And there is one particular policy, 16.1, that specifically protects these type of planned established communities by restricting incompatible uses through mechanisms such as future land use. For those reasons that I see that there's a motion on the table, I'm going to be voting no, and it's for this specific policy to protect this established community directly in lines with the comprehensive plan that I'm hoping to find consistency on within this board, that I would be motioning to deny based on protecting compatibility issues.
All right, so you want to make a substitute motion to deny? By Commissioner Wilstel. Do we have a second? All right, if not, it dies for lack of a second. Go to the original motion by Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Myers. If no other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried 5-2. Commissioner Cameron Cepeda and Wastel voted no.
All right, thank you. F5?
F5 is a major mod application 22-1120. The request is rezone a 5.11 acre parcel at 9027 Causeway Boulevard on the south side of Causeway Boulevard. The request is for a major modification to existing PD. The existing PD currently has two development options, one being a 38-unit single-family mobile home subdivision. The second option is a mixed-use use consisting of 57,400 square feet permitting hotel, office, and retail. This request is for a 102-unit multifamily development in lieu of those two development options. Staff is recommending approval. Planning Commission found it consistent with the plan, and the zoning hearing master also recommended approval, and staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? For F5?
It appears that applicant has not made their way to the boardroom.
All right. Why don't we continue the last item of the day and see if they show up
So do you need a motion
Yeah,
to continue till the end of the day?
into the meeting? Motion, Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
The next item then is agenda item F.
Commissioner Wastel, I still need your vote, please. Motion carried 7-0.
The next item is item F6, rezoning PD 22-1195. The applicant's William Sullivan Potomac Land Company. The request is to rezone a 19.13 acre parcel in a Res 4 plan category from AS1 to plan development. The request is for 70 single-family homes with a minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 50 feet. Staff is recommending approval subject to conditions. Planning Commission found this consistent with the plan, and the hearing officer is recommending approval, and staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Thankfully. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Sean Cashin, 13825 ICOB Boulevard, Clearwater, Florida. We had a full PowerPoint presentation at the zoning hearing master meeting. For the sake of brevity, we won't go through that today. This project is 19.1 acres. It's just east of the Rodine Road and Boyette Road intersection. It has two access points on Boyette Road. We're proposing 70 units. And just to the east is a preserve area, ELAP area. So it's bordered along the entire east, the preserve. It was found approvable by the zoning hearing master, and it was consistent with the comp plan. So that concludes my presentation. My client, Bill Sullivan, would like to talk about the community outreach that we had for this project. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. William Sullivan, Potomac Land Company, 26336 State Road 19, Howard Hills, Florida, 34737. We had a community meeting back in July. There was a light attendance to it. One thing we do as a company is we, and I can put this, I think does that show up? One thing we do as a company is we outreach and meet with all the adjacent owners, if possible. We met with the majority of the adjacent owners. As you can see, the ones in blue are the ones we met with. The one in green are the adjacent owners that actually signed petitions in support. And so we make an effort to go out and individually meet with everyone that's adjacent to us. I think it's a good policy for My colleagues, we're just, unfortunately, they don't usually do that, but we feel that it's important to hear their feedback. We got nothing but positive feedback, and so that's where we stand.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone here in support of the application? Is there any opponent testimony? Anyone in opposition? Okay, if not, Planning Commission?
Thank you, Melissa Lionheart, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the Residential 4 future land use category. The site is in the urban service area, and the site is also located within the limits of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The intent of the Residential 4 future land use category is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential development. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of the Residential 4 future land use category, as the proposed residential uses are anticipated in this category. The proposed rezoning also meets the intent of future land use element Objective 1 and policies 1.2 and 1.3, as the site is in the urban service area where 80% of the future growth of the county is to occur. The maximum density on the site permitted in the Residential 4 future land use category is 76 dwelling units, and the project therefore meets minimum density, as it will be building at 92% of the maximum density with 70 dwelling units. The proposed rezoning is also compatible with the surrounding area, which includes single-family residential, natural preservation lands, multifamily to the northwest of the site. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of future land use element Objective 16 and the neighborhood protection policies that modify that objective, as it meets and exceeds all setback and buffering and screening requirements and is compatible with the surrounding area. The size of the proposed lots is also similar to the residential lots to the north and to the west. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing Master?
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request to rezone the subject property to planned development to allow for 70 single-family detached units. As you've heard from Ms. Leinhardt, the Planning Commission has found the proposed planned development rezoning to be compatible with the existing development pattern in the area and allowing for a development that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff of the Planning Commission found the rezoning consistent with urban service area policies and supportive of the vision of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. And additionally, zoning hearing master noted Development Services finding that the proposed rezoning is compatible with the general area, and recommendation that the rezoning is approvable subject to the conditions set out in the staff report. The zoning hearing master noted that the applicant will be required to make certain improvements to Boyette Road consistent with the design exception that was requested and found to be supportable or approvable by the county engineer. The applicant has requested administrative variances related to minimum access spacing and the number of connections, both of which were found to be approvable. The zoning hearing master concluded that the plan development rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes, this is in my district, and I went out there and took a look at this property over the weekend, and I do want to commend the applicant for the reach out that you did with the community. That's great. I do wish all applicants did that. I know there was just one letter, Mr. Wormley, that had to do with concern with wildlife because it abuts the ELAP, but there's a compatibility plan that's always required, correct, through ELAP? And then the residents that move in there are provided this information so they have a general understanding that they're abutting ELAP property?
Yes, that's correct. For a nature property such as ELAP and Nature Preserve, there's a requirement that a compatibility be done with the development of the plan, and many times those compatibility plans include putting those future residents on notice of what they're moving into and what they could expect.
Good, and that was all we had, was that one letter regarding that, correct? There wasn't, okay, good. Well, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Yeah, motion to approve Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Kemp. If no other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
F7.
Next item, Commissioners, is item F7, rezoning standard 22-1496. This is a request to rezone a .77 acre parcel on the south side of Seffner Avenue at 111 Seffner Avenue. The request is rezone from RSC 6 to CG with restrictions. The proposed restrictions are limiting uses to a contractor's office, retail, and a professional office. Staff found this approvable based on the existing development pattern, considering the fact that the adjacent parcels to the south and east are similarly zoned and developed, and the parcel across Seffner is, although zoned RC6, is developed with a church, and the residential to the west is separated by a two-lane collector roadway. Therefore, staff did find it compatible. As noted, the Planning Commission had found otherwise did find it inconsistent, and they'll go into detail regarding the basis for the inconsistency finding, and also the hearing officer recommended denial. We're available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Yeah. Please come forward. Good morning, sir. You have 10 minutes.
I represent Yordani Salvia. I'm his brother. So we agree with the Ariani Salvia. So I represent Yordani. He's my brother. We agree with the restriction, but I guess it's not just in time when they're required. So I don't know if that is the problem to deny.
Sir, do you have any other comments? I'll have staff attempt to answer your question, but do you have any other comments?
Nope.
You got 10 minutes, okay. Adam?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sir, could you please state your question or your concern again?
We agree with the restriction, and they still deny. They recommend us make this change. And after that, they deny. I don't know why. We agree with the restriction.
So the application does have restrictions that were supportive of limiting the uses on the property. I believe that the zoning hearing master and planning commission raised their recommendations are based on a compatibility concern, and I think that that will be presented as part of this. But the restrictions are noted as part of your application.
Yeah, but I guess they have a little discussion on the last meeting, the restriction they'll get in time. Something that happened.
Yes, the restrictions are noted. They're part of the record for the application. I believe in terms of the non-support from the zoning hearing master and the planning commission, that the rationale for that will be articulated as part of this hearing.
Okay.
Commissioner Owen, do you want to make a comment now?
No, I'll wait till whenever board discussion.
All right, thank you, sir. Is anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition? Okay, Planning Commission.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 4 future land use category. The site is in the urban service area and also within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan. Future Land Use Element Policy 1.4 requires all developments to be compatible with the surrounding area, noting that compatibility does not mean the same as, rather it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character of existing development. The subject site is currently surrounded by commercial general uses to the east, as well as planned development and CG zoning to the south. RSC 6 surrounds the property to the west and north, and one CG zone parcel located directly east of the site does not contain a commercial use, but rather a single-family residential use. The proposed rezoning to CG would encroach into the existing single-family and other residential uses to the north, west, and east of the subject site, and is therefore not consistent with this policy direction. The proposed rezoning does not meet the intent of the neighborhood protection policies under Future Land Use Element Objective 16. The development pattern of the surrounding area has a concentration of the most intense uses toward the South Kingsway Road and East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard intersection, and then transitions to lower intensity uses farther north along South Kingsway. A rezoning to CG would not reflect a development pattern that is in keeping with the existing development pattern, as it lacks the transition into lower intensities and would encroach into the established neighborhoods along South Kingsway Boulevard. Future land use element, Objective 22, sets locational criteria for neighborhood serving commercial uses. For new developments that meet commercial locational criteria, Future land use element policy 22.5 encourages a transition in land use that recognizes the existing surrounding community character. The transition encourages the most intense land use clusters to locate toward the qualifying intersection, while providing less intense uses such as offices, professional services, or specialty retail toward the edges of the activity center. A rezoning to CG would be inconsistent with this policy direction. The subject site does not meet the intent of Goal 2 or Goal 3 of the Seffner-Mango Community Plan. Goal 2 discourages commercial encroachment into residential areas between US 92 and Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. Goal 3 outlines the areas in which office and light industrial uses are encouraged. The subject site is not located within the desired areas for such uses. The proposed rezoning to CG would allow for potential development of uses other than offices, child care facilities, or places of worship. The subject site and type of development that CG zoning would allow for is not consistent with the goals and vision of the Seffner-Mango Community Plan. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the rezoning inconsistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Zoning Hearing Master.
The zoning hearing master reviewed the applicant's request to rezone the subject property to commercial general with a restriction limiting the uses to a contractor's office, retail, and professional office use. The subject property is designated residential 4 in the future land use map, currently zoned RSC 6. The zoning hearing master noted that the property is located within the boundaries of the Seffner-Mango Community Plan and is within the urban service area. The area surrounding the property consists of properties designated residential 4 on the future land use map. The subject property was found to meet the commercial locational criteria. Planning Commission staff, as you've heard, has found the proposed rezoning to commercial general to encroach into the existing single-family and residential uses to the northwest and east sides of the subject property, and therefore not consistent with the future land use policy 1.4, which requires all new developments to be compatible with the surrounding area. Planning Commission staff found the proposed rezoning does not meet the intent of the neighborhood protection policies of the future land use, Objective 16, and policies 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, and 16.5, because the development pattern of the surrounding area has a concentration of the most intense uses towards the South Kingsway Road and East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard intersection, and transitions to lower intensity uses farther north along South Kingsway Road. The zoning hearing master noted that at the time of its report, the Planning Commission staff had not received any formal restrictions that would limit the applicant's proposed use to a contractor's office or specialty retail. The zoning hearing master found that the applicant did not submit any evidence in the form of expert witness testimony or report on the proposed rezoning's consistency with the comprehensive plan. The zoning hearing master concluded that the proposed rezoning request would not be consistent with the comprehensive plan and ultimately recommended denial of the proposed rezoning to commercial general with restrictions.
Thank you. Commissioner Owen.
Yes, this kind of abuts our district, Mr. Chairman. I went out and looked at this property and walked it too as well over the weekend, and it's a very interesting property. One of the things I fear is if this does not go through, I don't know what value the property has. To the west of it is a T-Mobile and dog groomers. To the south are train tracks. There's a church to the north, and then there's I don't know if it's a welding shop, but it's some type of commercial shop. So it's literally surrounded by commercial. And I think that's why Development Services looks at it for approval. And this is one of those touchy ones. And I was wondering if the applicant could come back up front real quick. Good morning. Do you know what's the intended use? What's the intended use of this property?
That's the office.
Okay, and I'm sorry, you may have to explain a little bit what I'm looking at. Are you planning to put a commercial warehouse, or what's your plan to put on the property?
This is for just the offices.
Just the offices?
Yeah, and we want to build the warehouse next to, facing the church, because we want to put the company car inside.
Okay.
That's what's the restrictions coming, and we agree with that. That warehouse is not for any mechanical or something. It's just for take care of the cars.
Okay. Ms. Lundgren, you'd mentioned about there was no expert testimony provided. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Is that a requirement, or is that just something that's requested by legal? That's just a question from me.
That was a notation that the zoning hearing master had made. I was just reading a note or reading a line from the zoning hearing master recommendation. The zoning hearing master's conclusion seems to have been based in part on the lack of support from both lack of support from the Planning Commission and the zoning hearing master's own conclusion following the hearing about the lack of testimony in support of compatibility.
Okay. I'm going to sit back and listen to see what other commissioners think. I know this is a touchy one. The Seffner plan, I really don't think it contemplated this particular property, and I think that's what this Board of County Commissioners is here for, is whenever something is a little bit outside of the community plan that I don't think was contemplated within it, for us to make the decision. I know there's a similar property, Mr. Gormley, down the road that's facing these train tracks as well, and there's just no way that I can see that any type of residential property could be built on this particular property. But I'm going to sit back and listen to some other commissioners' comments. Thanks.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. It might be helpful if we actually had a map here. I think that I've noticed we really haven't had maps this morning, and sometimes that's helpful to remind us and look at these properties. I just want to ask a few questions. And one, could you repeat the restrictions that are put in this?
Yeah, the restrictions is uses shall be limited to a contractor's office, retail, and professional office.
A retail and professional office. And, okay, and right now, under the existing zoning, I know it's comprehensive plan Res 4. Existing zoning is RSC 6. And what would be allowed under the RSC 6?
The RSC 6 district is a conventional single-family district, which would permit single-family conventional homes. It also allows consideration of residential support uses such as churches, and schools, and daycare.
I know we don't have the map here, but I also looked, and it looked pretty much surrounded to me as you described in my memory of the map. Are you putting it up there? Just, thank you. Right, in that place and where the larger roadways, oh, thank you, okay, so thank you. Just where the roadways, Kingsway there and Martin Luther King Boulevard, in this property there, the single family and everything looks, located differently as it was described to me, the RSC 6 there, and commercial neighborhood along here. I don't even know what that is there to the south, or I should say to this, it would be south and, what's that? South west, but, because it says commercial neighborhood there. But it doesn't look like it, with those restrictions, I feel more comfortable. I was worried about some more intense use would be allowed, commercial intensive or something of that category. And this doesn't look, we also don't have anyone here objecting to it at this time. And it doesn't look like a very intensive use, and I'm comfortable with those restrictions.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yeah, I actually do have the future land use map here in front of me, and what I'm looking at makes it look as though everything around it is residential, that there is nothing commercial around it at all, and the photograph is showing something different. So I'm a little bit, I'm just a little bit confused. This is my printout from the packet of the future land use map. If the staff could authenticate it maybe and put it up, I just think it would be helpful, because it looks as though everything is completely residential around it on that.
Commissioner, and just for clarity, what that map is showing is the comprehensive plan future land use categories. The zoning districts, there can be various districts, that is the correct map. The various districts can have non-residential uses in residential future land use categories. It's currently subject to locational criteria as the determining factor. One of the factors is considered for consideration of non-residential uses in there. So this is the future land use map as it appears in the comprehensive plan. The map that was just up, which noted CG, is actually the zoning map that shows what currently can be done on those properties.
This isn't really pertain to this application, but would this be a good example of the fact that our future land use map and zoning districts aren't really matching up very well anymore?
There are zoning actions and actions that can be taken in accordance with the comprehensive plan that don't get reflected on this map. So this map would not be a reflection of what is currently zoned and allowed on the ground.
Thank you.
Commissioner Owen.
Could you put the other map on there? And I'll answer your questions, because I walked around the streets on Sunday. So commissioners, if you see where Magnolia and South Kingsway is right there to the west, those are some single family homes. And if you look where Seffner and the CG is to the east, that one structure where you see CG and then look north a little bit, that's a small single family house. Everything else that surrounds there, where you see RSC 6, that's the church. Where you see PD in front of it to the south, that's a commercial warehouse. And even to the west, those are I don't know if that's updated, because it looks like, to me, there was like one structure, but that's commercial. And then to the east, in front of where I said the neighborhood is, there is commercial. And then the train tracks are directly on the other side of Martin Luther King Boulevard. So it's very heavy CG in this particular boxed area. The only thing the only residential property is that one kind of standalone odd home that is in between the church and the commercial property to the west. So with that and in the discussion, I'm going to move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to approve, I guess it's the development services recommendation?
Yes, sir, and that would include the restrictions on the use.
Including the restrictions, okay. Motion to approve, Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wostel. No other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, thank you. Okay, with G1A and G1B, I guess we can take them both at the same time. Mr.
Yeah, the
Grady?
next two items are G1A and G1B. G1A is a vacate petition to vacate platted drainage easement. Carry on Real Estate Services will provide the presentation on that item. And then G1B is a related acceptance of the plat that would occur once removal of the subject drainage easement through the action on G1A. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Carrie Allen, Facilities Management and Real Estate Services Department. Item G1A is vacate ID V220006. This is a petition by Rodine Holdings LLC and Belmont Reserve Community Development District to vacate a portion of a platted public drainage easement within Tract 101 of the plat of Belmont Reserve Phase 1 as recorded in Plat Book 140, page 198 of the Public Records of Hillsborough County. This vacate area is part of a larger area that was originally designated for use as a drainage pond for the Belmont Reserve development. However, this portion of land is no longer needed for drainage as part of the Cedar Brook Phase 6 development. The petitioners have submitted this request along with a separate submittal for a replat of the area, which contains an adequate replacement public drainage easement. The proposed vacate area is generally located south of Rodine Road and east of Balm River Road in Riverview and consists of approximately 36,826 square feet or 0.85 acres. Reviewing departments, agencies, and utility providers have raised no objections to this request, with the exception of the Public Works Stormwater Department, whose consent is conditioned upon the approval of the Cedar Brook Phase 6 replat, which will provide an adequate replacement public drainage easement. Staff recommends approval of this petition request, conditioned upon the approval of the plat of Cedar Brook Phase 6.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? I believe we can have a combined motion for both G1A and G1B.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Wellstone, second Commissioner Kemp. No other comments. Please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Thank you. I1.
Commissioners, item I1 is a report on traffic studies. This was requested by Commissioner Owen at the January 19th regular BOCC meeting. And the report focuses on our look at the AM and PM peak for trip generation. With rezoning applications, plan development rezoning applications, we do require that applicants submit a traffic study that includes an analysis of the trip generation of the proposed use, the use or uses that are being sought through the zoning. We require that information to both be daily totals and AM and PM peak hour trip generation. The AM and PM peak hour is the time of day when the roads are the busiest. It's not necessarily the peak traffic generator for the use, but it's the peak time of demand on our roadways. And the hours we use are 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for AM peak hour time, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for PM peak hour time. We generally accept information on trip generation from the Institute of Transportation Engineering Trip Generation Manual. That's a document, and we have staff here who can elaborate more as necessary on the sources of this data, but it's a generally accepted source of traffic generation data. We then compare that to the uses that could be developed on the property in its current zone position, and I'll acknowledge that sometimes this gets characterized as the difference between those as a reduction in trip generation. Obviously, if there's an undeveloped parcel and something's going to get developed on it, we're always creating more trips with that. So if we want to make sure that we're clear that we're communicating that the right way, and it is, of course, undeveloped to developed generates traffic. When we compare those trips, we generally, for existing uses, use a worst-case scenario. And this may be something that we would take appropriate direction on So for instance, a commercial general parcel, one of the most intensive trip generators in there would be a fast food restaurant with a drive-through. So that typically becomes a sort of high-end metric for existing zoning. I'll acknowledge that, while we use those, not every site is going to develop with a fast food restaurant, but in terms of comparing the magnitude of trips, that is the approach that we're currently taking. We'll say that AM and PM peak hours also used in the design of projects, the number of access points, the need for and extent for access management improvements such as turn lanes, driveway connections, length of driveway throats are based on the AM and PM peak hour traffic generation. We do that to make sure that we are calibrating those improvements to the busiest times on the roadway. That's a general overview of our what we do with traffic studies and how we use AM and PM peak. We do have staff here if there's any element of that they'd like to get a deeper discussion on, and available, if not available for any questions or direction.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Owen?
Yeah, thank you. And I've been working with Mr. Gormley on this week, and I think I've gotten out of this what I wanted to. The big issue, what Mr. Gormley alluded to before on these traffic studies, is that they assume a Dunkin' Donuts and a Chick-fil-A is always going in. So we'll approve a 900-unit, 1,000-unit apartment complex under the assumption that the alternative was a Dunkin' Donuts or a Chick-fil-A. That's the really big issue. I know we've done things a certain way for a long time, but I think sometimes that can be a problem. And I'd be interested to hear what some of the commissioners who have been here a long time have to say about that. But I would almost like, and maybe this is for future discussion on planning or whatnot, on having some type of tiered system when we're taking this into account, whether it's a drive-through restaurant commercial or office building commercial or dentist office or however we do that, because I believe that the overwhelming majority of the time when we're dealing with multi-use properties, we're intensifying the traffic patterns. So I kind of got out of this what I wanted, but that's my big issue with these studies. And again, I'd be interested to hear what other commissioners have to say about it. We are always assuming that it is something similar to a Dunkin' Donuts or Chick-fil-A that's going to be going in. So,
thank you. Commissioner Kemp?
Thank you. I never quite looked at that aspect of it. I know that you base this all on the ITE and, come up with these numbers, and, they report peak hours, morning and afternoon. And part of my issue with it has been this. Whenever you have a commercial property, no matter what it is, it's always going to have more traffic. When you change it to residential, it always has less traffic. And that's the way that the ITE measures it. And what their assumption is that a lot of people will be coming in. Let's say you have a CVS that you put in that spot. A lot of people will be coming in all day long, be generating traffic in and out, in and out. Whereas if you have a residential, they might only leave in the morning and come back in the evening if they take a trip or something less substantial. And when they go out to purchase or do things or go to work even, they might go to work, then go to the grocery store, then come back. So we only have that one trip that they're counting from that property. But what it fails to leave out, in which I find it to even be not even useful, honestly, is when you think about the way that, like, for instance, South County is. So you have these east-west roads that go across. Think State Road 60 if you want. Think, Bloomingdale Avenue. Think, the roads in Ruskin, the state roads, whatever. So what happens is when you put your new development as it's pushing out and you put it on the furthest east point of any of these roads, and you put a residential there, you won't generate as much traffic. You put a CVS there, you'll have these high traffic counts. But the people at the residential place leave there and they're using these east-west roads, because that's where the pattern is, always to Tampa or the most, that's where their jobs are. All through there, that's where you go to grocery shopping, that's where you do anything, that's where you go to events. So it's always them going on the road. They might leave that place, and we have a traffic count for that place. But they're putting these great impacts all the way along the road as they're using those other places. But I don't see how that's picked up in this. And one of my desires is to see mixed use in places so that there are trip capture and to have more integrated development. This is best practices, really what they're trying to do everywhere, and what we used to do. More integrated development of commercial, office, building, retail, commercial neighborhood, all of that. But whenever you have that, you're always going to have higher trip generation numbers, and then it looks like a negative thing. That doesn't mean the cars and the trips don't exist. That means that they're doing more vehicle miles traveled. They're using the roads more. They're going further and causing traffic issues in other places. So I find it not only that, like irrelevant, but harmful actually, because it gives a false impression. And so you're always going, residents, anybody's always going to grab for the residential rather than the integrated commercial business office, trip capture, best practices. And you're not, if it were to measure vehicle miles traveled somehow, formula and use of roads, in other areas and impacts, but to just, whatever the car shed is or whatever, and maybe if that could be spoken to, because I just find it unhelpful.
Thank you. Commissioner Wostel?
Thank you, Chair. On that note, I'll offer a moment of levity to staff. To quote Elon Musk, my favorite quote person, he states, that traffic is basically the ultimate battle, and that not even the most powerful humans can defeat traffic. So I don't think that what you're doing is irrelevant per se. I think that it's a very complicated issue that everybody says they're going to fix, but as more traffic gets packed in, I'll also disagree with packing and stacking mixed use, particularly on corners of intersections. Well, I'll point to Midtown, which is right near my business. Whole Foods is now terrorizing the citizens of West County just because it doesn't make sense when the mixed use has an interior layout, but then the entrance to Whole Foods is right on Del Mabry. It results in just an awful, dangerous scenario for everyone involved, and that's not because people wanted to. It's just that it's because of a very complicated issue. So when you see me to continue to vote no on mixed-use housing and no on urban mixed use, it's because I'm trying to be delicate in ensuring that we don't punish developers for sins of the past, but also at the same time that we're being cognizant of the fact that we have a real issue here. I think that more of the problem revolves around us saying, hey, is the impact only 300 feet? When realistically we know that it's the intersection a mile down the road. And I believe that taking a broader scope of what those impacts could be helpful, but maybe not that what you're doing is irrelevant. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you. I think the real point of all this is that regardless of what methodology is being used to measure traffic or different impacts, I think what's important is that we understand the methodology and we can discount or weigh it depending on how credible we think that it is. What Commissioner Kemp, I think, is saying is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she looks at these things and takes it with a grain of salt. When you look at it, you weigh it, but you weigh other factors that you see in the proposed project and in the surrounding area as well. and it's a tool. I think the danger is when the tool is represented to be something that it isn't. The statement, "we are reducing traffic," is a very loaded statement, because it might be that they're reducing traffic below what's approved, but not necessarily there. Or it might be that they're reducing traffic against an existing use. Two entirely different things. It's important that we understand what we're looking at when it comes up, and then I think you can weigh it accordingly. If you have philosophical differences about whether or not you want to see mixed use in a certain place, one person can vote no and one person can vote yes. That's why we're here. And I think that these are a tool, but they're nothing more than a tool. And you can weigh it, you can give it a lot of weight, or you can give it less weight, depending on how credible you think the methodology is. But the key is understanding what the methodology is so you can make that judgment.
Excellent comments. No other comments. Can we have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, I guess we go back to F5.
Yes, the applicant for F5 is now present. So again, next item then is agenda item F5, major mod application 22-1120. The request is for a major modification for a 5.11 acre parcel located on the south side of Causeway Boulevard at 9027 Causeway Boulevard. The request is to add, currently the site is approved for 2 development options, that being a 38 single-family mobile home subdivision or 57,400 square feet of a mixed-use office, hotel, office, and retail. In lieu of those development options, the applicant is asking for 102-unit multifamily development. Development Services is recommending approval subject to conditions. Planning Commission found it consistent, and the hearing officer also recommended approval. Staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If the applicant can come forward. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Mr. Rogers.
I'm sorry? Yeah. With Northside Engineering, Clearwater, Florida, 300 South Belcher Road. I apologize for delaying this board. I wanted to publicly appreciate and be thankful to Brian Grady and his team. They've been just wonderful to work with us and work with public to get the project to this point. So as Brian had mentioned, this site is 5.11 acres, and originally this site had I think it was 12 units an acre density. We went in and requested a rezoning. Rezoning was approved for 20 units an acre. That became more consistent with the neighborhood. So, and the owner at this point would like to build residential units, condos, apartments, things in that nature. And based on that 20 units an acre, when we multiply it out, it just becomes a different site plan. So we had prepared a site plan, had submitted, had worked with staff very, very closely, and have worked with DOT with the access points. And we have the project to this point. Planning and Zoning approved the project about a month ago or so, a month and a half. There was a neighbor that came about, and he had a bit of a concern with or driveway being a bit close to his property line, and maybe one of the buildings too close to his property line as well. So a building and a driveway. We have agreed to shift that driveway further back and also the building further away. We have plenty of room, so that was there's no issue there. So at this point, I respectfully request your approval, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone here in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? Please come forward, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I guess it's good morning. Bruce Weir, 9005 Causeway Boulevard, and also 9027 Causeway Boulevard. At 9005, well, let me back up. I am immediately, both parcels adjacent to the west of the proposed. It is zoned ASC1, agricultural. The staff kept saying I was residential, which I'm not. That is my homestead, okay? And I appreciate them moving the road and so forth, because it would have been impossible. I would have had to I'm still going to cause a problem, and I still reject the idea of losing access to Causeway Boulevard, in the possible future. And I'm just going to cause a load lane, traffic jam on Causeway. I mean, it's not your fault, it's not his fault. Maybe it is your fault, I don't know, in DOT, but anyway. And I appreciate him thinking about moving immediately to the south of my property. They have a 70-foot, well, I guess total height 70 foot. The plan calls for, or the development calls for anything over 20 foot in height to be set back 2 feet for every 1 foot in height past that point. I mean, would you want a 70-foot building just a few feet off your property line? Now, if I go to build a conventional house there, I have to stay 50 feet away from the property line, front and back, and 15-foot sides, which I can't use the 15-foot side because half the property is going to have to be utilized, to gain access off of, I guess you'd call it a collector road. So, I mean, I'm not happy with that. And I would like to have the staff adhere to the development that's already been well-established and created. I mean, I'm asking y'all for protection. I have nobody else. And I realize where it's at. At 9005, I bought in 1990. Okay, so I didn't come in, yesterday to flip it like what's going on now. 5 years ago, I bought the 9027. So I've been a long-time resident in the area, really going back just a few hundred feet away, since about 1974, I guess, 75. So unless something happens, I'm here to stay. So my main concern is take me in consideration. I mean, the project can get along. It's still a massive project without the one right behind me. And it would eliminate, my calculations, just that one building. And another thing, they've only got like 197 parking places proposed for 102. I hope no one has a guest come over. If 2 or 3 people have someone come over, because most people have 2 cars. I realize maybe a few that only has 1 car. But like I said, I stand against losing my direct access to Causeway Boulevard. It's not his fault. I don't think he wants to really do what he's been asked to do, as far as making accommodations for the property. So, I mean, I don't hold that against him. But just moving, I mean, it was really designed for 20 feet off my property line, I moved the roof line 70 feet in the air when you only got a maximum height of 50 foot. And then, he tried to accommodate me by moving it to the south 10 feet, but he didn't move anything from my other property because it's like a flag piece. If you had an overhead here, you could see. So the 9027 is only like 150 foot deep, and the 9005 is 260 foot deep. So, in other words, there's no buffer between there. And I mean, I might want to get some pigs, some chickens, and so forth and so on. I mean, am I going to be able to use the Right to Farm Act that Florida has? I mean, there's different smells and sounds and everything else that comes along with that, So I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just trying for my protection is all. I thank you for your time and your ears.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. The applicant has a 5-minute rebuttal.
His property is a small portion at the northwest corner of this site, and the only parts that really affect him would be, there's a driveway that comes in, and then on the southern portion of his property, there is one building. The rest of the project is far away from his property, and originally we had designed the plan to be 20 feet from that property line. Now it's 30 feet based on the dimensions that he had mentioned. So now we're 30 feet, we meet code as far as the setbacks, and the building is not 70 feet tall. The building, the site basically allows for 70 feet tall, but this building is not 70 feet tall. We're not impacting his property in any ways. As far as his access, DOT cannot deny you of an access to your property. So I don't know who's told him that he cannot have an access from the main road. I'll be glad to work with him and submit plans to DOT and get him the access that he needs. There's no fear in here, and we're very, very neighborly. I had a meeting with him after the meeting that we had with the planning and zoning outside, and I offered all kinds of help. I said, whatever, we're neighborly. We're not trying to cause any issues here. You're going to be our neighbor. We want to work with you, and that's really the intent. So the building is further back now than the 20 feet that originally was. It's 30 feet plus. The driveway is further away from his property. DOT always wants to have a shared access, in other words, for properties to sort of communicate with one another. So we had to provide a little bit of a stub connected to his property for any future interaction with the site. So based on our conversation last time, we have corrected the plans, and it meets code. As far as parking requirements, all that information would have to meet zoning regulations. And also, generally speaking, for a PD mod, people submit bubble plans. We want it to be a bit more specific so that everybody here can see, what the intent is. So I hope I have answered all the questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Adam, does staff hold on, sir. Staff need to add anything to?
Just wanted to clarify that the maximum height for this entire site is 50 feet. 70 feet is not permitted. That is the actual maximum on the site. It's the current maximum height on the existing zoning, and there is a requirement for a two to additional setback of 1 foot for each 2 feet for each 1 foot in height above 20 feet. So the maximum height is 50 feet. The way the project is designed, it would have a gradual increase in height before it got to that 50 feet by an increased setback. Either that or push the building all the way back. So I did want to clarify that on the record because I think that was not clearly stated. In terms of the access issue, what I believe is the speaker was referring to is that Florida Department of Transportation issues the connection permits for Causeway Boulevards, State Road. What they've indicated is that in a future redevelopment scenario, they would be requiring a shared access between this site and the speaker's site. That would not affect his current use of the property. It's not just clear, it's something that DOT is requiring as the jurisdiction in charge of the road, but it's not something that would occur if the gentleman continues to use his home as he is, or add ag uses to it, which he is permitted to do. So that driveway closure would not be a result of this zoning. It would be a potential result of a future redevelopment of his site through DOT's permitting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Planning Commission.
Thank you. For the record, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the residential 20 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The subject site is in the urban service area where, according to future land use element objective 1, 80% of the county's growth is to be directed. The proposed residential density in the residential 20 future land use category is compatible with the existing character of development in the area. The site is surrounded by a mix of uses, including multifamily residential, single-family residential, commercial, and public institutional uses. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of the neighborhood protection policies under future land use element objective 16. The proposed density is reflective of the surrounding multifamily neighborhoods to the east and south. The site plan appears to show an efficient system of internal circulation with main access off of Causeway Boulevard, consistent with policy direction. The request is also compatible with the existing development pattern found in the surrounding area. The proposal meets the intent of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The proposed pedestrian cross-access to the public space to the west of the site supports Goal 4, Strategy 3, which encourages connections to parks and public lands as new development occurs. In addition, the overall development, including the proposed recreational area and the dog park amenities, supports several strategies under Goal 5A, which encourages adequate open space and access to parks and well-designed compatible development. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing Master.
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's requested major modification of Plan Development 91-116 to remove all existing commercial entitlements and increase from 38 single-family units to allow 102-unit multifamily development. The applicant is requesting a waiver of Section 6.01.01 of the LDC, which requires that structures with a permitted height greater than 20 feet shall be set back an additional 2 feet for every 1 foot of height over 20 feet. The applicant is proposing a 15-foot setback from the subject property's east boundary and a 20-foot setback from the subject property's west boundary for a maximum of 50-foot building height. The zoning hearing master considered the testimony and evidence presented and recommended approval of the modification of Plan Development 91.1 or 91-116.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the board? Commissioner Kemp?
Thank you. I had concerns when the gentleman spoke, but I felt like those were clarified by staff, that it would be limited to 50 feet, and that he has access to Causeway. And I understand, because I've run into this a few times with a state road and FDOT and those issues of access on the roads. But I'm glad to hear that clarified, that the gentleman that came in will have access unless and until his property is redeveloped. And it sounds like we have what is going, is that when it's from his property, what he said, so did you say 2 feet? I've never heard this before, 2 feet for every over 20 feet?
Sorry, it's a metric in the code that requires additional setbacks of 2 feet for every 1 additional foot of height. So a 25-foot structure with a starting with a 20-foot setback, it would move that to a 30-foot setback. So 2 feet for that additional 2 feet of setback for that additional 1 foot in height. And the idea is to keep the building massing away from the edge of the property.
Okay, and I think that identified the issues that the gentleman spoke to for me. So with that, I'll move approval.
Okay, we got a motion to approve Commissioner Kemp. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Owen.
Yeah, and just the last thing. First, you're never a pain by showing up. We, the board really appreciates when neighboring property owners show up, so thank you for being here. The one thing I think you touched on it too, just to reassure this gentleman, is that it does not affect or impact his use of the property whatsoever, how he's zoned, correct?
That's correct.
So he'll have his access points, and it will not negatively impact his current zoning district.
That's correct. He can continue to have the same uses that he is allowed to today.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wostel.
The opposition did have one good point that we actually deal with to this day, and I don't know what or if anything can be done to protect him, and it's the complaints that will come from residents if he is using that for ag land, smells, etc. We deal with it, we get the complaints, we send out EPC or whoever to investigate, we make sure they're in compliance, etc., etc. Is there really any realistic way to protect him? I mean, the complaints are going to come to his property, right? They're stacking multifamily houses onto an ag adjacent property, and then he's going to get the complaints.
Yeah. So I think from the future residents, this doesn't obviate complaints, but they're moving to a situation where there's existing ag zoning. Given that he does have ag zoning on the property, it does allow a wider range of uses than, say, a typical residential lot would be. Roosters are things he could have on the site. So, there's nothing that divests him of the rights to use the property. How neighbors react to that, is somewhat difficult to control. But we would respond to any complaints relative to what the permitted uses on the property would be, which include ag uses.
Yeah, so nothing to protect him then is the answer from the nuisance complaints. Okay, I'm going to vote. I mean, I know which way it's going to go, but I'm going to vote no just to try and protect the farmer.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the opposition coming this morning to express your concern, I'm happy to hear that the applicant is willing to work with you to make things better and be good neighbors. So I just wanted to express that to both of you all.
Okay, we got a motion to approve Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Cohen. If no other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 6-1. Commissioner Wostel voted no.
Thank you. Adam, any other items?
Concludes our agenda today.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.